Holy Spirit. So when he was baptized by John, and then the heaven opened, and then the Holy Spirit came upon him in a form of a dove, and then the voice came out. I love everything that happens after, because after that, chapter number 4, we see him going into the wilderness by the leading of the Holy Spirit, and then he was tempted for 40 days and 40 nights, and then he did not fall, and then he came out of the temptation, and then immediately when he comes out, the first thing that he does, he picks his executive team. He builds his team. Before he started doing anything, he builds his team. Little by bit, he was walking by the seashore. He saw John and Andrew, so Peter and Andrew. Then he called them, and then he saw the son of Zebedee, which is John and James. And then he called them, and then he started his ministry. The first thing that he said to them, he said, "Follow me, and I will make you." He never promised to give them. He never said, "Follow me, I will give you." He said, "Follow me, I will make you." From the get-go, what does that tell us? God is not in the business of giving people things. Giving to God is cheap. God is in the business of making people. Anything we find, it's so cheap for him. But God does not give people easy door that he has not prepared them prior for them. Because now if you receive stuff immaturely, they're gonna kill you. Even though they were supposed to be a blessing in your life, they turn out to be a curse. How many people you know, they came to church poor, and then they got a job, and then they left God, and that job that was supposed to be a blessing upon his life become the exact same thing that makes that person to leave the faith? How many people you know that by the grace of God they bought cars, and then that same thing that was supposed to be a blessing to his life, and then a tool that's supposed to be used to further the message of the gospel of the kingdom, the message of the gospel of Christ, is the same thing that the devil is using to destroy one's life. So now God is not in the business of giving people stuff immaturely. Go back, let us go to the book of Galatians chapter number 4, verse number 1. We find a story that is narrated, we find an analogy that is narrated by our apostle Peter. Paul, as long as an heir is as long as an heir is still young, does not differ from a slave, even though he's the owner of everything. Use of verse 15. What you will be taken into a mentorship program under tutors, and then he'll be tutored up until to a age or a space where he's mature enough, then he'll be able to inherit his father's things. In other words, up until you grow into a level of the things that you are desiring from God. I was praying exceeding namhlanje. There were certain things that God was making an alignment in Bilunya. There are certain prayers that I've been making ignorantly, not understanding that God is not basically refraining me from getting those stuff, but I'm not yet matured enough. I'm not yet matured enough to attain such. There's a certain level of growth that I'm praying for, that I was praying for, but I understood with that certain level of growth and exposure, I'm not yet matured enough to attain such. And then you have to be mature enough to understand that you are not mature enough for certain. Get the sense? You have to be mature enough to understand that you are not mature enough for certain stuff. You have to be matured enough to understand